Right, okay folks, welcome to another Friday Waffle. The weekend again, and it's a long weekend as well, fantastic. We, when I say we, I mean my company, they don't actually give us, well they do technically, they do give us the public holidays, but we're allowed to take them when we want, so I suppose that's actually better. It means that you're not having to you're not forced to take holidays. But we are off on Monday because there's something happening in London at the weekend. I'm not quite sure what it is. Yeah, I jest. Obviously, it's a coronation for King Charles. I mean, it's a big thing. It is, there's not many, well I wouldn't say there's not many people get to live through a coronation of a monarch. Probably most people do actually when I think about it. But I can totally understand why there's a lot of people not interested. I'm not going to I always say I don't do politics or religion or whatever in my channel because it's just you're just on a hide to nothing, you're going to upset people. Oh, excuse me, sorry, how rude I am yawning. You're just going to upset people. But, you know what, I've got my own thoughts on the royal family. I'm not going to go into it for the reasons I've just stated, but I think at the moment, more than ever, with the current hysteria that we're all going through, I heard on the radio today a couple of things. I heard that Shell made their biggest ever profit in the first 3 months of this year, and they made 8 billion profit, and that is our biggest ever profit they've ever made for the first 3 months period. Now, I don't give a shit what anybody says, but come on, really, the other thing I heard on the radio today is that there are more people than ever they can't afford even the most basic things now. Prices are just unbelievable. I mean, I'm lucky. I've got a decent enough paid job, but even I wouldn't say I'm struggling. I mean, I'm not going to not be able to pay bills, and I can still buy food. But I'm having to be careful now, and I've certainly got a lot less money than I had. I mean, I've never been rich, don't get me wrong, but I've never had as little money as I have now. And it's, prices of everything. I would say quite literally, prices have gone up by about 75%, and we're talking about everything. Petrol. I can't even remember how much petrol was a few years ago, but I mean, petrol was up to almost £2 a litre. Fortunately now it's down to, I paid £1.47 today, which was quite high. I think you can get it for about £1.42. I even saw it for £1.36 a couple of weeks ago. But everything else, every single thing has just almost doubled in price. And like I said, there are people who are genuinely struggling to buy the basics. And when you and apparently this is, I've been told, the girl at my work told me there are apparently more food banks in the UK now than there are McDonald's, branches of McDonald's. And I wouldn't say it surprises me, but I always think to myself, it seems quite incredible that there are people so poor in the UK that they can't afford to buy food. And that is wrong. That is so wrong. So going back to the whole coronation thing, I mean, I would absolutely hate to imagine how much this is going to cost the taxpayer. Now, they always say, oh no, the royals pay for this. My arse, at the end of the day, the money that the royals have got was given to them. they didn't earn it. I was watching I saw a very short video of Robert Smith of the Cult, and he was basically attacking the royal family. He says that he doesn't have anything against them, but he does not respect them in any shape or form. He says because these people who the money they have is insane. The privileged styles, I should say, that most of them have, in fact all of them have, is just, they don't know what real life's about, and they haven't earned it. They have not earned this. They've been born into this, I was going to say silver spoon, golden spoon. They've been born into this privileged lifestyle where money means nothing. You know, it means absolutely nothing. And I just think, I know it's tradition, and I know, you know, with the coronation and all that kind of stuff, but I just think that I would actually think far more of, I mean, I'm indifferent to the royal family. I did like the Queen, I have to say, I did like the Queen, and I didn't mind Prince Charles, or he's now King Charles. But I would really respect the royal family, and I think everybody would if they were to take the stance and say, listen, we understand that this is tradition, it's important for a lot of people, it's important for the heritage of the UK, for the history, it goes back, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years, you know, that we need to have some sort of ceremony. But in light of where the rest of the country, not just even, well, it is the country, let's be honest, the UK, I mean, there's far worse countries off than the UK, but I've lived in the UK all my life. I will be, excuse me, 56 in October. I have never known the country to be as desperate a position as we are now. Everybody is feeling I wouldn't even say the pinch. A pinch is like that, where things go up slightly. Things have doubled. I mean, my electricity gas bill, I was paying £92 about, I don't know, about a year ago, and I just got my thing through from Eon. My direct debit has gone up to £224 a month. Now, I'm living in a house on my own. To make matters worse, the local council have just announced that they're going to be closing 4 of the local sports centre, gyms, swimming pools in Livingston, and we've got a theatre where, you know, you can go and see bands and that kind of stuff, and it's a lovely place. That was built, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. They've announced that that's going to close as well because they don't have enough money. And I don't know, it feels like as a country we're absolutely fucked. I've never known us to be in such a position, and I honestly think that in light of where we are, the royalty should say, listen, let's cut right back. We don't want to spend 100 million for a single event. Let's just do it in Buckingham Palace. We can get the BBC in with their cameras. We can get a few important people. We can give King Charles his crown, and let's move on. But that's not happened. How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost the taxpayer for the police, all the police, everything? There's going to be roads closed, you name it. The security, you think about it. I mean, I don't know who comes to these things. Do big, like, important political figures from other countries come to the coronation? I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I've never lived through one. But if that's the case, you can imagine what it's going to cost the taxpayer. Like for security and what have you. It doesn't even bear thinking about. But I just think the fact that we are in such a fucking poor position. There's people struggling to eat. I'm sitting here with a jumper on because I've not got the heating on because it's too expensive. I'm lucky, I've got a decent wage, I can afford it. Just means I've got a hell of a lot less money. I mean, if I do one thing nice a month, that's pretty much my kind of spare money going. But there are poor people out there that genuinely can't afford food. They're probably sitting in the bloody freezing cold. Their kids have probably not got nice clothes. So yeah, come on. Well, not that Prince Charles is going to watch this waffle, but I really think they could have... there's a lot of resentment and hatred towards the royal family. I think just in light of everything that's gone on. I think a lot of people, myself included, thought that when the Queen died, the royal family doesn't really mean anything to anybody. And this would have been an opportunity for them to get back in public favour, I think. What do you guys think? Do you think the coronation should be cut right down? We should cut right back. We can still have a nice time, but it doesn't have to cost hundreds of millions of pounds. And I know some people are probably going to comment and say, well, it's, you know, the royal family are paying for that themselves. My arse, seriously. What else have I been doing from my gaming perspective? I was playing Last of Us 2 a lot. Not played it for a couple of weeks. I'm really bad. I'll stop playing something for a wee while and then I completely forget to go back to it. And that's what's happened with that. I've not played that. I've recently switched on my Series X and I've had to renew my X Game Pass. Now, yeah, I was a bit of a twat last year. One of my mates gave me a kind of a hack to get cheap Game Pass, and what it involved, it was something like this. You went on to, using a VPN, you went on to Microsoft Argentina, excuse me, you then bought 3 years worth of Game Pass. Now instead of costing about, I don't know, 100 quid for a year that it costs in America, in the UK, in Argentina, for some weird reason, you get it for about 30 quid. So if you, so you can buy 3 years worth of Game Pass and it's costing you like a third of the price. Then what you do is you log into your own British account and it should then give you 3 years Game Pass. And then there was something you had to do which then enabled like the gold membership, whatever it was. Anyway, I did that and I must have made an arse of it. Either that or Microsoft have cottoned on to it. I think, I'm sure somebody did mention that Microsoft were aware that people were doing stuff like this, and so they were stopping it. So anyway, bottom line is, my 3 years worth only lasted a year. I shouldn't complain too much because I was kind of using it wasn't a scam, I was just kind of using I'm using the ability to try and get things cheaper. But I think at the end of the day, I spent about 100 quid, it might have been slightly more than that, it might have been 130 quid, can't remember. But I got a year out of it, and that's what it would have cost if I'd been paying for it normally. So I shouldn't moan, but yeah, when I put my Series X back on, Game Pass had expired, and I've now renewed it. I think it's $10.99 a month, and that is for Game Pass and Gold membership for the Xbox Series X and for PC. And honestly, folks, if you're the type of person that you don't play retro games, whatever, well, then it's irrelevant whether you play retro games. If you're the type of person that just wants to have a brand new game, play it, complete it, and then move on, Game Pass is a bit of a no-brainer. You're getting access to about 100 games, and the great thing is you don't have to install them. You can actually stream them using the cloud, whatever it is. It's a kind of beta thing, but I've done that for quite a few games, and I have to say it works really well. So yeah, get your arse if you've got an Xbox or you play games on PC that aren't Steam. It's, you know, thoroughly recommend it. For, you know, a tenner a month, you're getting access to all these games. So yeah, I've been doing that. Well, I've been doing that. All I did was actually renew my Game Pass, and then I switched the thing off again. I was watching the snooker. I was a massive snooker fan back in the 80s. If you're of a certain age, you'll remember a certain snooker final with Steve Davis and Dennis Taylor. It went down to the last black, which obviously Dennis Taylor won. My dad and I used to love watching snooker when it was all the oldies like Cliff Thorburn, Dennis Taylor, Ray Reardon, John Virgo, Tony Knowles, Steve Davis, Bill Werbernick, Kirk Stevens, Alec Higgins, Jimmy White. He did kind of come along sort of later on, but yeah, we were massive snooker fans. And then throughout the 90s and into the, I hate saying the noughties, I think that's a fucking stupid name, but anyway, I lost interest in snooker. It became dull, it became boring, and a lot of people probably still think that's the case. I mean, the thing is, the quality of snooker compared to what it was back in the 80s, it's so much higher. I mean, guys like Steve Davis, Stephen Hendry, they were head and shoulders above anybody back then. But it's not so much the fact that they were brilliant. I mean, they were bloody good. It's more the fact that the opposition wasn't as good, you know. It'd be interesting to see how well like Stephen Hendry or Steve Davis would get on now against the kind of current crop of players. But anyway, the reason I started watching it this year, I wasn't intending to watch it. I was meant to be going for a night out with my girlfriend a couple of weeks ago, and it turns out it was going to be me, her, and about 5 of her pals, all girls. And I'm thinking, you know what, I'm just going to be a bit of a stooge, you know, she's not really going to enjoy herself with me being there. So we picked up one of our friends, and I asked her, what's your hubby doing? He went, oh, he's going to stay in tonight and watch the snooker. So I said to my girlfriends, I says, look, do you mind if I don't go to this thing and I'll watch the snooker? So I went in and watched the snooker with Lee's friend's husband, a guy called Derek. Watched the snooker and really enjoyed it. There was I think is he Malaysian? I'm not quite sure. Player, just a young guy, 20 years old. He was going for everything, really good. But anyway, the fast forward, the final was at the weekend there between a guy from Belgium, a guy called Brekel, I think it is. A guy from Belgium, and Mark Selby, who's English. Now I don't mind. I know a few people can't stand Mark Selby. I think he's alright. I know he's going through quite a tough time. He suffers from depression, and I know his wife. Apparently his wife doesn't keep too well at the moment. But anyway, the Belgian guy won, which I was quite pleased because Mark Selby's won the snooker quite a few times, and this guy's never won it. He's qualified 5 times. He's never won a match up until this year, and he's only gone and won the whole thing. But I saw a video the day after he won, and he was walking somewhere. I don't know. I think he was going to a hotel or something, and he had a kind of entourage of people around him. He had a guy walking in front of him, and he had a couple of guys to the side of him, and people behind him. And there was people going up to him and sort of saying, "Oh, hi," and he was just he was ignoring them. And the guys, his entourage, were they weren't pushing him out the road, but they were saying, he's too busy. And already people are saying, he's only won a match at snooker, and he now thinks that he's this phenomenally important person. I I've got my own mind, my own opinions about that. But it's interesting how the media will big up somebody. I mean, when he was in the final, everybody was wanting him to win, and then the minute somebody wins, the media will look for anything to kind of turn on him, and that's what they did with this wee guy. So it'll be interesting to see how popular he is, you know. Don't know. So I was watching snooker, I was watching that. In fact, just I noticed a tweet by Kim Justice. She's going to be playing, or she's playing, is it Snooker 2019 on Twitch. Now, the last sort of decent snooker game that I played was Virtual Snooker. Really good, fantastic mechanics. The only problem is, well, no, it does have artificial AI. It's ancient. I mean, you'd probably find that it wouldn't even run on Windows 10 now. And any of these kind of snooker games that I've tried in the past, they've really they've gone for like trying to have fancy graphics and what have you. But the problem for me with a lot of these games, and even things like Archie McLean, God rest his soul, Archie McLean's Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker, it didn't feel like snooker because you were moving a mouse, you were moving to the side, you were clicking on the power, you were clicking in this, you were clicking in that. It didn't feel anything like snooker. And then when you're playing an opponent, you don't see the opponent. All you get is the balls will automatically move, and I think you might see the snooker, you might see the cue kind of moving back and forwards. So there's never really been a snooker game that's kind of hooked me for such a long time. I know Kim has played this game in the past, so I've asked her. In fact, I've just has she replied? Yeah, she has actually. Let's have a quick look. What is she saying? I was asking her, what did I say? I was just basically saying that, I've not seen anything. She's saying, to me it's my favourite since Jimmy White, mainly because it's got a nice balance with the AI and really good ball physics. The graphics can be a little iffy in parts and it might not be quite as in-depth as virtual pool games, but it's definitely worth a crack. Thank you very much, Kim. I appreciate your quick response. I'm going to dig that out, and I'm going to dig that out and dig it out. I'm going to have a look and see if I can download it. Hopefully get it for not much. So that was that, snooker. Gaming wise, I've not actually played the Mister this week. Shocking surprise. Still loving it, really am. I mean, I've done a few streams, and I think I can honestly say that where possible, I'm going to use the Mister for streaming because it's so much easier. It looks better. Every emulator is full screen, because when I was doing my live streams on Sundays, some of the emulators, they were like tiny. Some I think was like the BBC, whatever. It was a tiny wee screen. I couldn't get it to go full screen at all. So the Mister really makes streaming things so much easier. So I've not been playing the Mister, but one thing I have been kind of getting into, and I'll tell you why. I saw a comment on, I don't know whether it was a tweet or whatever, it was on YouTube. No, it was actually a video on YouTube. And the video said Outrun 2 by Sega is Sega's best ever racing game. Now, I loved Outrun 2. I used to play it on the original Xbox, and I've also got it for the Xbox 360. It was one of these games you could download, you could buy on, is it Arcade Live, I think it was called? Microsoft Arcade, something like that, I think it was called. And I bought it back in the day, don't know when it was, probably early, maybe 2003, 2004. But then the license for Ferrari expired, and so Microsoft had to withdraw the game. So even if you had the game, you couldn't download it. But fortunately, I've still got it on my Xbox, I can still play it. But I watched this video, and the guy said whilst the Xbox and the Xbox 360 versions are really, really good, they're no way arcade perfect. So if you want to get the best arcade experience, then you need to play the arcade one. Now, there's an emulator called Techno Parrot. It's a free emulator, but the guy that, I don't know if it's one person or a group of people, we'll say one guy, the guy that makes it, some of the ROMs, it's an emulator that supports modern arcade games. When I say modern, I'm talking games that came out in the 2000s, 2005. I mean, there's a couple of games that came out about 3-4 years ago. I think there's about 215 games all in that it supports, and yeah, there's a few games which he has. You've got to sign up to his Patreon if you want to unlock it. You need to get a serial number. Now, this emulator says that it supports over 200 games. It supports things like House of the Dead 4. Trying to think, there was a Daytona that came out about 10 years ago. There's what else is there? Bloody hell! Is it Super Mario Kart DX? Various light gun shooters, various beat 'em ups. What's the other game I was going to say? Super Monkey Ball. There was an arcade version of that came out. There's oh yeah, the big one is Star Wars. I was going to say Pod Racer, Star Wars something or another. I did do a video of it last year, I think it was. Plus like Outrun as well. Outrun, all the kind of Sega arcade games, all the racing games, they're all supported. And it's incredible. You're getting to play an arcade game that came out maybe 5 years ago on your PC. Now apparently the reason for that is because they were programmed for PCs. So I'm saying it's fairly simple to run it on a modern PC because it's the same kind of hardware. But they play really, really well. I mean, I've got a fairly decent graphics card. It's probably regarded as a budget card now. My PC itself is about probably 10 years old, so my PC is quite old and clunky, but it plays all these games brilliantly. But anyway, getting back to the Patreon thing, this guy, there's about, I think there's maybe about 10 games, 12 games, maybe slightly more, that you've got to be a Patreon, and you get given like a serial number. And a few people were saying, you know, how can he charge you for playing games that he doesn't own? He doesn't own the games. So that's a bit cheeky. And at first I kind of thought to myself, yeah, you know what, they're right. But then I thought to myself, I do a lot of thinking to myself, as you probably gather. He doesn't supply the ROMs. All he's doing is writing a piece of code which then lets you play certain games. Now, if he decides that he's only going to give you access, it's only going to run so many games with the free version, and if you want to get the full use of it, you've got to pay some money. And I think he's quite right. I don't think there's anything wrong. It's not like he's including games with it at all. He's not even selling it. All he's offering is the actual emulator. Because, you know, people, it's incredible when you look at things like the Mister scene. You know, it's a massive kind of scene. You've got the old Raspberry Pi, Retro Pi scene. There are all these people, twats, we'll call them twats, out there that make certain demands on why doesn't this do that, or why isn't this supported, why does this not work properly, and they complain about things and they're getting it for free. And it's the same in my videos. What I think is really interesting with YouTube, about a year ago, maybe more than that, they decided to hide the down thumbs. So if you watch a video, you can give it a thumbs up or you can give it a thumbs down. Now, I've never ever seen the point of a thumbs down, other than if you were watching a video that was really offensive, you know, something that was really offensive, really bad, horrible, then I would probably say, yeah, give it a thumbs down and tell the person why you do that. But for things like what I do, hobbies, you know, about gaming, I never ever got the point why you would want to give a thumbs down, other than you just want to be a cunt, basically. So anyway, YouTube decided to not take away the thumbs down, but to hide them. So what they've done is, if you've got a YouTube channel, you can go to the analytics, and you can it'll tell you percentage of thumbs up against thumbs down. Now, a lot of my videos, most of them fortunately, have 100% thumbs up, but there are one or two videos that do get thumbs down, and whilst it doesn't tell you how many that is, it will reduce the percentage. So a video that I did, was it last week, I think it was, with Neil, we got the video got 87% thumbs up, which means that 13% of the people that watched it didn't like it. Yeah, bizarre. It's a bizarre thing. Don't get that at all. But anyway, back to this emulator thing. I think the guy's quite right, because at the end of the day, these people, or this person, is putting in a shitload of work to give people something for free. So you can't criticise him for wanting to get something back. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's been it. I've not played anything else. No, anyway, getting back to sort of that emulator before I can move on to questions. The emulator is fantastic. It supports all these games. If you want to play Outrun 2 as God intended, then go and check it out. I'm not going to put a link to it. You can quite easily Google it for yourself. Technoparrot, it's called. Tekno, Technoparrot, all one word. Download the emulator and do a Google for ROMs. I'm not going to give you any links to ROMs, but let's just say they're easily available. You can find them pretty easily. So go and check it out. I've been playing quite a bit of these. I am going to hopefully get a video. I don't know how it's going to run. I'm hopefully going to record it using OBS and get a video out, doing my own kind of look at Technoparrot, make you aware of it. So yeah, alright, let's have a quick look. I'm just going to have a quick drinky poos. Always make coffee and I completely forget to drink it. Right, where are we? What am I looking for? Yeah, I'm looking for my own videos. Your videos, and there we go, 28.4. Yeah, that was the one with Neil, yep. Right, okay, I've got 12 comments. I don't know if there's any questions in these, but we'll just go through them. Scott Brian, yes, a lot of people don't realise that even rechargeable batteries have a shelf life, maximum amount of times they can charge before you have to replace them. Yeah, Neil was trying to fix my Spectrum laptop. Unfortunately, I can't seem to charge the batteries, so I don't know what's going on there. Wee Bob Art, great to watch along, nice to hear from Neil and Archie the Superstar. Goodbye, Neil. Anyway, hope you have a good weekend and a week ahead. Thanks very much, Bob. Zestful has made a comment. I've read this and I didn't understand what he's getting at. Hadn't paid rent for 6 months. Tut tut. Keep them coming. Did I make a comment about not paying rent? No idea. Don't know what that is. Scott Breon again. Command and Conquer Red Alert original 1996 version was the last real-time strategy that I actually got into. Yeah, I loved Command and Conquer. I did buy the remake or the HD version, whatever. I've not played it. I might try and get back into it again. Right, the Oxmeister question for next waffle will probably more of a debate, but why is it that retro gaming continues to grow? Systems like the C64, Spectrum, Amstrad, Atari, and even the Texas see new titles released every week. when they are deemed long past their commercial use? Is it because the big modern software houses have all but completely abandoned the gaming genres that the old systems thrive on? That's a good point. In favour of yet another massively multiplayer 3D Muppet engine, and thus choose to ignore the original gaming generation. It only seems to be the odd small independent developers or one-man bands that offer such wares now on the likes of Steam and modern platforms. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair... jump cut. Right, back again, battery ran out. Yeah, that's a good point, Ox, and I mean, it's one that I have kind of mentioned in the past or given my own kind of thoughts on. The problem nowadays with gaming is it's so much money, it's so big business nowadays that any kind of big company, your Activisions, your Bethesdas, your Segas, Nintendos, well, Nintendo do kind of take risks, they do try things differently, which I do like about them, but for some weird reason there are certain hardcore, or it's their self-titled hardcore gamers, they look down their nose at Nintendo, but that's for another waffle. But yeah, all these big companies, they're simply not going to take any chance of or any gamble making a game that that might not work. Now, like it or lump it, the people that these games are aimed at, I mean, I don't know what the sort of the age range is of people that play games. I would imagine it's going to be sort of like 10 years old up to maybe 35, 40 years old. People like us are kind of few and far between, you know. And I'm gonna take my daughter for example. She is not interested in playing, you know, sort of 2D. I hate the 8-bitty phrase as well, but you know, the kind of pixelated thing. She's not interested in playing that. She wants to play sort of first-person, three-dimensional shooters. I know it's not Ox's preference for gaming, it's not my preference for gaming, but it's the way of the world. Things have changed, you know. When I was a kid, I listened to Madness and the Specials and Sex Pistols. I didn't listen to Dean Martin or the Beatles or Frank Sinatra, but that's what my mum and dad listened to. So every generation, every new wave of generation brings about new things. And like I says, like it or lump it, modern kids that play games, that buy games, they're not interested in playing these old games. And you know, that's why these companies don't put them out. But if you go to any of the sort of like the gaming what do you call it, events like Play Blackpool, where was I recently? Yeah, I was down at Insomnia. It's nice to see there are still independent companies, small guys, maybe one or two people, putting out modern games, old style modern games, you know. And the thing is, they don't have the big overheads. If a game doesn't sell well, it's no biggie. I mean, there's like Bitmap Bureau. My mate Mike Tucker, who I'm actually wanting to get on a video at some point, they've just released Xeno Crisis for the N64, and you know, from what I gather, the feedback and from customers for that game has been absolutely phenomenal, and it's wonderful. It's brilliant that these kind of small independent companies are getting success. They're getting good feedback. Their games are selling, and the more these kind of games are successful, the more games you're going to get, the more people are going to want to buy them. So yeah, there are still independent games out there. But to kind of get back to what you were talking about, Ox, it is mind blowing if I was to kind of go back 40 years and think, in 40 years time, you know, here I am in 1985, in the year 2023, I'm going to be playing my Commodore 64, and more importantly, there's going to be people writing games for these machines. It's tremendous. It is. I mean, I've always said, I think right now is the best time to be a retro gamer. Yeah, it really is, because there are so many games coming out. You can download games for nothing. You can get all the ROMs. There's various ways of playing. You don't have to own the original hardware. You can use emulators. You can use things like the Mister. You can use PCs. You can use Android tablets, phones. What else can you use? All manner of stuff. You can use Raspberry Pis. All manner of stuff. It's never been as cheap to play old style video games as it is now. That just led me on. I was going to say something else, and I can't for the life of me think what I was going to say. No, it must be a lie. It must be a lie. So anyway, Ox, yep, thanks for the question. If I do remember what I was talking about, I will get back onto it. Right, Milthy Swinbuckle. Let's get my breath. Right, question for next waffle. Might have already asked this question before, so apologies if I have. Question: are there any conspiracy theories that you give some weight to? I think the most popular ones are the biggest load of bollocks ever to be created by fools, or at least the ones who believe this stuff and even just having a laugh. Stuff like the earth is flat, chemtrails are made by governments to control us. Utter nonsense. They're actually nothing more than flying saucer farts. The royals are all lizards. Donald Trump is actually a real Bigfoot. The moon landing was faked. Elvis works down a local chippy, etc, etc. Let's address these in order. The earth is flat. No, it's not flat. We've seen pictures of it. It's not flat. Chemtrails are made by governments. I'd heard that. Somebody at my work once told me that, and I'm like, oh really? But I don't. I think that's all like bollocks. The royals are lizards. A lot of shite. Donald Trump's a Bigfoot crap. The moon landing was faked. I do believe that we did go to the moon, but I have kind of sat on the fence about that for a long time. There are certain things that I think about, and it's we went to the moon. When was it? 1967, something like that. Apologies, I've got that wrong. My history is pants. Anyway, we went to the moon 50 years ago. Now the technology that we had then compared to what we've got now is like night and day. I've been to the museums in London. I've seen the spacecrafts and the lunar landers and all that kind of stuff, and they're made from like bits of tin with tin foil around it. It's like, really, we actually went to the moon with things like that. The technology we've got now is just like night and day. So why have we not been back to the moon? Lots of people say it's to do with money, there's no reason to go back. But we're getting, for various reasons, Earth is, I think, we're starting to run out of resources. The Earth is becoming so overpopulated. It's going to get to a stage, if mankind is going to survive, we're going to have to start looking at other places to live. And I really don't understand why we haven't been flying to the moon on a regular basis. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to get a bus, or members of the public can go to the moon, although that was something they spoke about a long time ago. But I don't understand why we've never really had anybody else walking on the moon. We've been talking about, did they go to the moon? Was it a conspiracy theory? Was it lies? Was it in a studio? I've watched all these documentaries that try to say, well, the shadows don't reflect. Why is there not a shadow there? And the flags moving and all this kind of stuff. And I've kind of thought, maybe they've got a point, but The one for me is, if we did go to the moon, why have we not been back? There's maybe a completely rational reason for it. Yeah, who knows? And the other one, now please, I hope people don't get offended by this, because it's something that's extremely raw for obvious reasons, was 9/11. I do believe that that was a terrorist attack, but there's a couple of things that just niggle me. When you think about the technology that we've got now for wars, planes, we can take down missiles and God knows what. The planes that they've got nowadays are phenomenally advanced, and I just find it quite hard to believe that a massive passenger jet was allowed to come across and crash into a building. I mean, they must have known quite a bit in advance that that plane should not be where it was going, and yet we seemingly did nothing about it. So that's one part of it. Secondly, again, I've watched numerous conspiracy theories, and they're saying that you would have to be extremely talented at flying aeroplanes to be able to guide it into the side of a building. So the other one is the fact that not one but a second plane was then allowed to hit it. Surely at that point, when they knew that this plane was going, it was dangerous, it was heading across New York, surely they should have had planes there ready to kind of intercept anything else. So why did a second plane hit? Why was it not stopped? Now, I know they say that they did shoot down a third plane, and then there was a fourth plane that crashed into the Pentagon. Now, you never ever hear, well, at least personally, I've never heard very much people talking about these other two planes. I mean, there must have been people talk about how many people were killed in 9/11, and it was fucking horrible. It was tragic. I've been to New York since it happened, and it's very, when you go to New York, I could almost sense, that something bad had happened. And when you go to like Ground Zero, there's a kind of calmness about the place, and it was an awful thing, terrible thing that happened. But I don't know, there's just some things that just don't really add up for me. And I mean, apparently, again, apparently Bin Laden's family were in New York when just was it a day before that happened, and they were actually taken out of the country. And there's just too much. There's too much things that don't really add up. I hope I haven't upset anybody with talking about that, because I mean, I do believe it was a terrorist attack, and it was fucking horrible. The devastation which caused, not to just people in New York, but right around the world. Absolutely awful. So anyway, Multi, I hope that's kind of answered your question. Colin Jones, I have an MT 32 Pi, the hat Pi, so they can be purchased completely. Top tip, get the cable at the same time. I think this is a thing that allows you to play kind of PC sound cards on your Mister. Good answer on the Grand National. Flying cars, while possible, will never be a thing. They're too dangerous and too hard to regulate. Time travel backwards is impossible. Totally impossible. Well, there are theories that all require stuff that doesn't really exist in reality. My question for the next waffle, ignoring the man-child ex-loon, what do you think of SpaceX? Right, their achievements to date and their future plans. Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking Yeah, apparently what's his face, the owner of, I'm not going to give him any more publicity, the owner of Twitter launched a trial test launching a rocket into space, and it blew up. I'm going to sound critical here, or I'm going to what do you call it? Contradicting myself. I couldn't think of the word there. I'm going to be contradicting myself because I've just said I don't know why we're not looking at we're not looking at other options in space. Technically, that's what this guy's doing. But going back to my royal family thing and the fact that the world is fucked, we're in so much turmoil, people are so poor, people can't afford to eat, they can't afford to put heating on. I don't know how much that test costs, must have been probably a couple of billion, if not more. I don't know how much it costs. There just seems something very immoral, the fact that we're spending money and stuff like that. But then maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to say, well, like, we can now go to the moon, we can grow crops in the moon. I don't know. I just think it is a bit immoral. But yeah. Anyway, Colin, not a very good answer, but it just feels wrong. Same with this bloody coronation thing. It feels wrong that we're spending all this money when there's so much poverty in the world. But cheers, Colin. Lord Evil, instead of doing a stream every Sunday, why not do one every 2 weeks or even just once a month? I've said before, Lord Evil, I was doing them weekly. I'm not going to be doing them weekly. I'll do them when I can be bothered, when I want to do them. Yeah, that may change, but I will continue to do them as and when I can be bothered. Andrew Clegg, you can drop Archie off with me, mate. My cousin who lives up the road has 3. He won't be bored. Yeah, if only. If only. And finally, Ox is saying, if you like this video, please donate to Al's Kickshiter and go fuck me. Yeah, that was a little dig at people like Ashens and Nostalgia, and they're raising GoFundMe pages. So anyway, right, listen, I'm going to get off and get this video uploaded. I hope you all have a really, really nice weekend. Thanks as always to all the support that you guys give me. It is appreciated. And I will be back next week for some frivolous fun and games. And until next time, guys, as always, thank you very, very much for watching.